Hello and welcome to the webinar, everybody. It's Peter Downs here from the Inclusion Club. Thank you very much for your time this morning. We're going to get underway with the webinar now. I can see we've got people from different parts of the world. Certainly we've got people from Australia logged on already, and people from New Zealand and from Europe as well, and the US. Here we go. I recognise a few names. So welcome everybody to this webinar. It's a joint initiative between the Inclusion Club and the International Federation of Adaptive Physical Activity. It's the third webinar this year that we've done as part of an agreement between the two different organisations here. This webinar, we're going to be looking at the great work right across Australia of Belgravia Leisure there, and I won't go into that at all here because the guys who have got online, Jeff Walkley, Lois Hewitt and David Block here, will be introduced to you in just a second, and they're going to guide us through the next 45 minutes or so in this webinar. All right, okay. How the webinar will run in three parts here. We've got Jeff Walkley, Lois Hewitt and David Brock on the line from Belgravia Leisure, and they're going to guide us through the little journey of Belgravia Leisure's work right across Australia in creating inclusive environments for people with disability. I think you'll find this is going to be an absolutely fascinating webinar for some really great work that Belgravia are doing. So without further ado, I'll let the guys introduce themselves as they start going through the webinar. But let me first unmute Jeff Walkley. Jeff, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Peter.
Excellent, Jeff. Well, I think I'll leave you to for the second. I'll be the virtual host in the background here, having a look and encouraging people to ask questions, but to introduce yourself and to kickstart the webinar.
Certainly, thanks, Peter. So you'll move the slides forward. So I'm Jeff Walkley. I'm the National Disability and Diversity Manager with Belgravia Leisure, and I'm really pleased to be able to present to you the information about the work that we've been doing in support of including people into leisure opportunities in the venues we operate across Australia. Belgravia is a private company, so this is somewhat different to what typically happens with the operation of leisure centres across the country, and we're operated private company owned by the Jeffrey Lord Family Trust. Across the suite of companies in that trust, there are 5,500 employees, and Belgravia Leisure is one part of that suite of companies, and Belgravia Leisure operates on behalf of about 40 local government and state government authorities, venues in Australia and in New Zealand, approximately 110 currently. So Peter, we'll just move to the next slide. That's good. So one of the things that Belgravia has set as our primary purpose is connecting the community to leisure. I like to accentuate that notion by saying that at the core, our business is about promoting opportunities for health and happiness among all members of the community. We offer services across the sport and leisure, aquatics, hospitality, health and wellness, and alpine and tourism. And we operate those types of venues across the country. Interestingly, our growth in the management of venues continues at a pace, and we have been growing at around about 8 to 12% per year, and we've maintained that as we get larger. So we're really pleased with our ability to work in different communities across the country. Thanks, Peter. On the next slide, I don't wish to spend much time. A way of providing an overview of some of the key things that we take as our values within the organisation. So in terms of our strategic priorities, I wish to draw your attention to a few parts of this. Our people are essential to us, and David and Lois are examples of that, and across the organisation we have many, many people who are undertaking their work in a way that aligns with our values and our core mission. I want to draw your attention to the second one in relation to programs, in that we have embedded in all of the work we do that we will deliver programs that are accessible, diverse, and that's a statement which indicates that we are dedicated towards making sure that people are included into the opportunities that we promote in the community. We also are very strong in relation to partnerships, and we see our approach as being really important to work with others to develop social capital within the communities that we operate, so that there is the generation of new skills and confidence which can then sustain and expand opportunities. Our values are important. This will come back throughout the presentation, so I won't spend much time on this. I want to draw your attention to the notion around leadership, and so we have inclusion coordinators currently within nearly 40 of our venues, and also to the value related to results, and we're an evidence-based practice organisation. We'll show you examples of that as we go through. Thank you, Peter. So the next slide is on its way. Now, this again is a slide where there is far too much content for me to speak to, and it's there as a resource for the future. But what I want to highlight here for the audience is that we have some guiding principles that we have enacted within the approach we're taking for inclusion. This is inclusion for people with a disability, but inclusion of others of diversity or who experience disadvantage. The 7 pillars of inclusion provide a framework from which we operate, as do the principles of universal design. I've provided links there where people can follow up and get access to more detail in relation to each of those frameworks. I've provided some examples of the action that Belgravia Leisure has undertaken. So, look, just as an example, if we go down near to the second last row in terms of policy, remembering that we're a private company, we're not a government organisation, we're not a non-government organisation, we're a private company who operates within the commercial environment, and we compete for business of operating leisure centres across the country with the not-for-profit sector, the non-government sector, and with the government sector. Importantly, within our organisation, the owner, our board of directors, our CEO, our executive leadership team, and our senior leadership team have both embraced and prioritised the area of inclusion as a core part of our business. And this is a really important part of the success that we've been able to have. Another example, if you like, is in terms of low physical effort. An example that we've developed there relates to some of our centres where people with high support needs, we've been able to work with the owners of the venues, the local government or state governments, to ensure that appropriate assistive equipment is available so that people can use and benefit from the leisure centres. One simple example at an organisation called Watermark, where we have slings which are used with hoists to assist people who have very high physical support needs. We made sure that we had a paediatric, a teen or adolescent, and an adult size sling to both promote the safety, comfort and dignity of the people who required that sling to be able to be placed onto a table so that they're able to prepare to be involved in a water activity. Thank you, Peter. We'll move on to the next slide. Got a pop quiz here for you. What enabler is mentioned most by adults with a disability when describing what they seek most through participation in sport? So it's my understanding that people will now be able to respond to that on the quick poll that we've got organised through Peter. So what enabler? Another way of describing enabler is what facilitator or what is the core feature mentioned most by people with a disability when describing what they seek most through participation in sport.
Yeah, I can see Jeff. I can see Jeff. The votes coming in.
Very good.
Great. I think we're about there. Actually, up to about 100%. So I'll close the poll, and you'll be able to see the results now.
Well, there we go. So the 84% of the participants in the webinar have identified social inclusion. The remainder identified community participation. That's fantastic. There are 2 that are there. So we'll go to the next slide in the webinar, and you'll see the answer that I select and the answer and the reason I selected that answer. So the answer that was selected as being most appropriate for the question was social connection. That's based on research that's been completed by the Australian Sports Commission and is available for people to search for online. And commonly adults with a disability indicate that sport is a way to connect with people, social connection, an opportunity to spend time with friends, and an opportunity to make new friends. So from the perspective of these people who responded to that research, sport was a conduit, a vehicle to build social connection. Belgravia Leisure has used that, and implicit within the programs that we create is an aspect of socialisation as part of the sport experience, because we understood that people were saying that they use sport as a vehicle to connect with others, as a primary motivator. Now, I must confess that that is the most often indicated primary reason. Secondary reasons do include community participation, and it also does include opportunities for health, which embedded in health was the opportunity to rest and relax as well. So in actual fact, all of the answers were partially right. The one which was most appropriate was social connection. Thank you, Peter. I want to just very briefly overview then the approach used by Belgravia Leisure to connect all to leisure. We have the policy embedded which supports the notion of access and inclusion as an organisational priority. That was driven by leadership but was validated in state conferences which occurred across all of our venues in Australia, attended by approximately 300 to 320 people in leadership roles at the venue level. 2 things came out as being among the priorities that the staff attending those workshops and conferences thought were important for Belgravia Leisure. One of those was disability, diversity and inclusion, and the second related to the burgeoning problem of obesity. So from an organisational point of view, we have leadership driving, and we have our staff confirming that they see this as an important part of our operation. Leadership then has embraced this and has resourced the policy. So my role was created and I commenced in late 2014. We have an approach where we phase out our strategy, and approximately 10 leisure centres are brought into the strategy every 6 months. And currently we're into our 4th tranche of leisure centre phase-in. And one of the interesting and important aspects of that is that each of the leisure centres that come in, one of the obligations that they have is for an inclusion coordinator to be appointed. And that role is initially for 5 hours per week, and then subject to the creation of new programs and the generation of revenue streams, that number of hours per week is able to be increased at the discretion of the venue manager. So we've built in this approach to promote sustainability and financial viability. Additionally, the process that we use is the community development approach, and that in essence means that our inclusion coordinator works outside of our venue in the community with key community groups to identify community need, and then to collaborate, cooperate, and partner with community groups, community leaders, so that we can then create a program that addresses directly the need of that community. We're not taking the process where we identify what the community needs. We reach out to the community to let the community tell us, to understand what the community's needs are, what the priorities are, and then we work with them within our venue to see what capacity we've got to offer those programs and what we can do if we don't currently have the capacity. Finally, the other principle of the approach we take is evidence-based practice. This supports continuous improvement, and what it allows us to do is then to use that information to confirm the program is meeting the needs of the community, or to challenge the program and to lead us to make refinements or modifications. And ultimately, if the program is not working, then that program will cease because it's not a good use of available scarce community and company resources. Targets for data collection in this approach also are based on what is known in the research about the enablers and the barriers commonly associated with access and inclusion by people who experience disability, diversity, or disadvantage. And we gather information from the participants primarily, but we also do gather information from their families and from our own staff, both of which are groups which are important in supporting opportunities for the participants to benefit from leisure. So across the country, this is the status of our approach. There's a map of Australia there. You can see the number of venues that we currently operate in each of the states and territories of Australia in the orange circle. And above that, there is a numeral which indicates the number of venues that are currently implementing our strategy in that state. And you'll see that we have totally across the country 39 venues that have an inclusion coordinator or a community development coordinator. And we also have 2 venues that what do we call cooperating centres, and they're 2 golf courses that have a fairly low staff profile, and the role has been taken on by the manager and the golf pro in those venues to support our inclusion and access approach. Programs that specifically target and support inclusion of all people, disability, diversity, or experiencing disadvantage is around the aquatics area, what we call swimming and water safety. We have a continuum of class opportunities there based on the support and needs of the swimmer and the preference for the learning environment that they wish to engage in swimming and water safety. That has proven really successful, and we'll show you a little bit of information about that later. The full gamut of sport and leisure opportunities are created, from social through to competitive options, as well as drop-in sport engagement, unorganised or non-organised, and across the full gamut of health and wellness, so fitness. So that could be using our health clubs and the cardio equipment or the strength equipment, or involvement in some of the group exercise or relaxation classes that we use. One of the things that I wanted to highlight as well is that we try to replicate opportunities within the community, and by connecting people to the leisure industry, an opportunity we've identified is to support employment among people who have a disability or of diversity or experience disadvantage. And there's an example in the photo to the right there of a student in her final year of high school. Her name is Maddie. She's one of many young people with a disability that we have supported to undertake work experience. We've reviewed the success of that program, and I'm very proud to report that it is a great success. One of the ways that we've determined the success is in relation to the reports that have come back from the work-study student, additionally and independently from their family, and additionally and independently from the staff, and we've triangulated that data to confirm that. But additionally, the young person, while undertaking the work experience, demonstrated their bona fides so well that a number of them have then been offered casual employment, and a number of them have then segued into ongoing part-time employment with us. So we're really pleased and really proud that we're connecting the community to the leisure industry as well as connecting them to leisure experiences. Very briefly, because time is fleeting, there are many key projects that I'm driving at a national level. We take a pathways approach to supporting people to experience and benefit from sport. An example of that is in South Australia, where the Office of Recreation and Sport have provided funding to Netball South Australia, and we're a major partner in that initiative with Inclusive Sport SA and Special Olympics South Australia to drive opportunities in 4 venues to create pathways to involvement in sport, and we're focusing on netball. 2 metropolitan, 1 regional and 1 country venue, so that we can trial and then look to replicate good practice. In Western Australia, a great project occurring at Point Walter Golf Course, some funding from the Golf Foundation, a large number of partners through Sporting Schools Program, the Australian Sports Commission, Australian Government project, Golf Western Australia, Golf Australia, an equipment and program provider called Snag, and Special Olympics, and that's going along really well, where we've got 4 programs targeting school, targeting community, targeting school holidays, and then developing a golf academy to accentuate the skills and provide specialist coaching for those who wish to become competitive golfers. We also have programs around partnering with health groups to support people with disability to engage in leisure as a rehabilitative or as a recovery mechanism. We're programs in Sydney, we're trialling supporting specifically people with mental illness called Take Charge. We're in the final stages of developing a not-for-profit organisation called the Belgravia Foundation, which will allow us to use our support, our size and our strength to fundraise, to drive funds back to create innovation at the local level. Excuse me. And we also have a national swimming and water safety disability program that we're developing up so we get a nationally consistent approach. So a range of examples of the programs, and of course anyone can contact me in the future to get additional information about those projects and how we're implementing them. Okay, so the next slide is on its way. So another pop quiz, and I'll let Peter just moderate this section. What are the keys of the characteristics of Belgravia Leisure's approach to access and inclusion for all? And we have 5 options here. Just wanted to extend you a little bit. Alignment with the 7 pillars of inclusion and principles of universal design. Strong unequivocal support from leadership. Employing a community development approach, which includes inclusion coordinators fostering cooperation, collaboration and partnership. The use of evidence to drive practice and in our programs and service delivery, which then allows us to review, refine and replicate good practice to other centres. Or it could be all of the above.
All right, you should be seeing the quick poll, your experienced audience now, so you can vote on your screen there. And I think we've got them pretty thick and fast now. They're coming in. Just a few more seconds and we'll have all the votes in. You can click on your screen. Just while you're doing that, if you're on an iPad watching this, unfortunately you can't vote on the poll. I found out this year. So iPads don't work on a poll like this, but we're just about there with 100%. So I'm going to close the poll and show the results, which I think you'll be pretty happy with, Jeff.
Let's see. Yes, there's a lot of happiness there, Peter. Thank you. The answer that I was looking for was that Belgravia Leisure does employ all of the four options listed above. Certainly, we use all of those. So that was the one that I was looking for. No one's incorrect because we do it all. Thank you. Peter, there's a question that's come in. If you wanted me to really briefly respond to that.
Yep.
So a question has come in from Melbourne in relation to whether Belgravia Leisure is working or has worked in the past with the Paralympic movement about awareness, competitive opportunities, etc. Yes, the answer is yes, in many ways, and I'm actually pleased to say that our swimming and water safety coordinator in the City of Sydney, who we've recently employed, actually has just returned from the Paralympics, as have many other of our staff who we employ across the organisation. I'll just repeat, we will work with every group who shares the mission and enthusiasm for inclusion. And if others want to contact us, I'd encourage you then to do that.
Okay, now I've got a question, Jeff, for you before we just move on very quickly. You showed a really good map of Australia and all the centres that Belgravia have, and you've got your inclusion coordinators in place, which is great. How do you kind of continually embed a common understanding of inclusion amongst that broad network of people? What are some of the little tactics you might use to try and embed that common understanding of inclusion?
Okay, so one of the things that we've done is it's come off a policy statement and a strategy statement where we have it written what are the principles and the approaches, the focus, our core values. Additionally, in the first 6 months that an inclusion coordinator is in place and the venue has started to phase in the approach that we're promoting, I work closely with those venues. That's the reason that we take in about 10 every 6 months. And what we're able to do then is to allow me to provide, shall we say, greater levels of support directly to that venue. We go through an induction and orientation process with the inclusion coordinator, which is participated in with the manager. So it's both the manager and the inclusion coordinator concurrently go through the induction and orientation process. Additionally, I give them a 6-month work plan, which is recommended as an approach to schedule their work and their focus, and that has been carefully constructed to replicate this community development approach. Certainly reflects the principles that we use, and it is a live document in that over time I will get feedback and advice from inclusion coordinators going through the first 6 months, and that allows us to use that evidence, that information, to refine that 6-month work plan. And then we also, I'll do work with regions or states. So we've got, shall we say, layers of support that we have. The last thing I want to say about the first 6 months is that in that first 6 months, we asked the programs to create 2 new initiatives. So what we have as an unwritten rule is that we start slowly to promote success, because within the inclusion coordinators and within the venues, we want to build confidence while concurrently developing their competence, which will allow them then in the future to take more independent responsibility for working with their community and innovating to create better opportunities.
Nice, Jeff. Yeah, I like that kind of layering there, and success early on in a program like that is really critical to getting that sort of motivation and common understanding. Great work, Jeff. I think we'll move on. We'll hear from Jeff as well throughout, and maybe at the end we'll have some roundup of questions. But do keep sending in your questions, people. That's great if you can. So thanks, Jeff.
No problem, Peter. And just while you're organising the next slide, just in response to the question about getting a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, that'll be available post the webinar, and an alert will be sent out to everyone through from Peter.
Yep, that's true. That's true. Good. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on and introduce David Brock from Sydney here. So, David, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Peter.
Excellent. Okay, well, I'll leave you to it, David. And again, people, please send in your questions and comments as Dave goes through the next 10 minutes or so. And yeah, take it away, Dave.
Yeah, fantastic. So as Jeff was going through before, I'm actually one of the inclusion coordinators at Cook and Phillip Park. I've got two key roles. My other one is the stadium coordinator, but I actually have the pleasure of being the inclusions coordinator as well. So it's basically my role to oversee and implement programs and strategies to increase inclusion opportunities for everyone within the local community. I absolutely relish the role. I've had quite a number of experiences in the past, I guess my own personal life and my family, so I've really taken this role on board and try to run with it as I say. So I guess on the first slide here, basically where I am, so everyone is kind of on the same page. I'm obviously from Sydney, Australia. Sydney, Australia is the state capital of New South Wales and is the most populous city in Australia and Oceania. It is located in Australia's east coast, and the metropolis surrounds the world's largest natural harbour, just for some context. The Sydney Central Business District, or the CBD, is where Cook and Phillip Park is located and is the headquarters for many Australian and Southeast Asian companies. With the area having a spectacular harbourside location with vast amounts of public green space, inclusion and participation has been a top priority for the wider community and the City of Sydney Council. The people that inhabit the city can actually fluctuate to around 600,000 people a day. These can include office workers, tourists, students, and other visitors that flock to the area for any personal recreation or business needs. This shows that there is a clear and vast spread of demographics and backgrounds that need to be included and accepted within the community. It is also home to one of Sydney's largest communities and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So this is kind of why Jeff and Belgravia Leisure have been working through these programs to definitely try and make it a priority moving into the future. Fantastic. So as stated before, I'm an employee of Belgravia Leisure, and under the City of Sydney contract, Belgravia Leisure has the pleasure to manage 5 of the major centres in the region. This includes my centre, Cook and Phillip Park Aquatic and Fitness Centre, Ian Thorpe Aquatic Centre, Andrew Boyd Charlton Pool, Prince Alfred Park Pool, and Victoria Park Pool. In total, all these centres have around 1.6 million people coming through doors on an annual basis. With access and inclusion being a top priority for the City of Sydney community, Belgravia Leisure has supported this ethos on all levels through the implementation of inclusion coordinators at each venue, such as myself, as well as recently appointing a community development coordinator to oversee inclusion program opportunities across the 5 sites. I think he only started yesterday, actually, but I've begun to work with him throughout. With further strong support from state, regional and centre managers through consultation with staff, Belgravia Leisure is aiming to build strong links with the local community to open more doors for everyone to access health and fitness services. So again, with this program moving forward, and my role is to pretty much try and implement further strategies to increase inclusion. There we go. So basically, the first of the programs that have been implemented by Belgravia in the City of Sydney contract has been the Take Charge program. In a nutshell, it aims to offer a free 60-day health club and gym membership to adults who are experiencing mental illness after a referral from a treating medical or allied health professional. The program gives participants access to all the services, facilities, programs and staff within the centre. We aim to take an evidence-based approach in the implementation of this program. We aim to improve health and wellbeing, reduce the possible need for medication if possible, create new social connections through participation, improve motivation and try to increase self-esteem. The program that we run works through a referral from an exercise specialist, an allied health professional, and our exercise specialists tailor the program to the client and make adjustments throughout to ensure effectiveness. With regular check-ins throughout the 60 days, the client is nurtured through to ensure their recovery is paramount and their treatment can be as effective as possible. Upon the completion of the program, our exercise specialists take them through a debrief, and a subsequent fee-assisted program is tailored to continue their recovery well into the future. Working at Cook and Phillip Park, we have a really strong advocate for the program, Jack Burke. He's our health club coordinator. His oversight for the program delivery has seen the Take Charge program to 11 participants in an incredibly short time. With plans to further expand the intake in the coming weeks, Jack plays a vital role in the success of the program. However, Cook and Phillip, we're actually very, very fortunate to have Susanna Cheng on staff, who's an exercise physiologist. She has a real passion for in the field of mental illness and has been taken a hands-on approach and taken the lead in working with the clients as they come in. I asked her to put together a quick testimonial from the way she's seen the program working, so I'll read out what she's written for me today, and these are her words. A few of my clients were really excited about having the opportunity to exercise again. Sometimes even after many years of being sedentary, it gave them a new purpose and replaced bad habits such as watching TV. It motivated them to come into the centre, begin to be more social and actively involve themselves in their own recovery. The program is only in its early days, but an exercise physiologist, I can really see the program's potential to connect the community to accessible facilities such as Cook and Phillip Park Aquatic and Fitness Centre. As much as the program is about individualised prescribing and monitoring exercise, there is a large emphasis on education and self-empowerment for the participant. Basically, it aims to give them the tools to take charge of their health and their well-being. That was from Susanna, and she does some amazing work for us at the centre. Overall, the Take Charge program is planned to have a wider implementation strategy in 2017 and to hopefully increase participation to benefit the community and people suffering from mental illness within the City of Sydney. So myself and Jack, and along with Susanna, we're hoping to increase participation in the future and try and get and have more structured plans to be able to keep the support ongoing, so we don't just see them for the 60 days and then nothing rolls in after. So that's something we're working on a daily basis and something that we're really trying to implement. And yeah, as you can see on the slide here, the other key program that we have at our centre is the Swim Champs program. It's an aquatic-based program designed to suit a person with a disability, but primarily children, but we do open it up to adults as well. It aims to provide a low-cost membership for one-on-one lessons, giving personal and tailored attention to swimmers with high support needs. The program is based on the Swim and Survive program to promote water safety and personal development. The classes are designed to work with each participant's ability and not their disability, and is based on strength-based outcomes for success. Swimming is a fantastic activity for children with special needs for several reasons, as it provides a sensory relief while providing greater muscle strength, physical endurance, increased flexibility, more self-control and safety. Often we find children with additional needs can potentially be overconfident around water, as they have the potential to lack the understanding of the possible dangers that can be present in water environments. Again, one of the key leaders we have, and under the strong and dedicated guidance of our swim school coordinator, Jessica Saggers, our program at Cook and Phillip Park currently has 35 participants. In a recent survey, as you can see on the attached slide, we sent this out to the parents, and we got some really positive feedback about the program and how it was impacting on the lives and the confidence of the children or the participants in the program. On the right-hand side, the bottom right-hand corner, there's only a couple of the responses that we had, but you can see that basically the way I like to see if a program's running well would it be something that you would tell your friends about, or something that you would say was a great experience for others, and we got 9 out of 10. Also being delivered by skilled and highly trained staff also got high results. So from that small number of people that we had, it just shows that the program is really, really working. As with the Take Charge program, both Jess and myself are planning to increase the number of participants in the future to make sure that we can fit it in there. But we're also in the process of implementing transitional strategies to integrate the Swim Champs participants into regular classes. So we're not just keeping them in the same program, we're trying to develop them into mainstream classes into the future, so they continue to get that social interaction. I hope I covered everything, guys. I think that's everything from my slide set. So thank you, Peter.
Thanks, David. Great stuff. We do have a question for you before you
Yep.
can't get off that easily. Good question as well. Hold on a second. I'll just get the question up here. Okay. Belgravia Leisure has an embedded inclusions core business. I think that's pretty obvious from the presentation so far. As an inclusion coordinator manager, how do you ensure or encourage the different stakeholder organisations you work with, the community ones, etc., to make inclusion their core business so that they can drive change? You know, have you ever encountered any challenges with regards to this, and how have you managed them?
That's a fantastic question. I've only been working with Belgravia for a few months, so it's something that I'm definitely developing. Jeff might be able to assist in something like this as well. But there's definitely been some challenges coming through, especially with the Take Charge program. Obviously, there's definitely a high need to have this sort of program implemented, and I guess it comes down to resources from our perspective to try and get these in. But I wonder if Jeff would have anything he'd like to add to that.
Yeah, I've unmuted you. Jeff, are you there?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. One of the things that we've found across the country is when we engage with other organisations, our own approach tends to act as a honeypot for like-minded organisations to link with us, so that there is, I suppose, a mutual affinity. We have encountered some organisations with whom that we have not had a successful partnership, and the approach that has been taken is that we will use all of the, I suppose, tact and support we can to engage with organisations to help them understand that we're interested in supporting opportunities for people with a disability of diversity or experience disadvantage in the community. And so we'll do that. Now, after approximately 6 months, if we find that it's not working, what we will then do is to, for want of a better term, park that program development idea and move on to the next priority. And the reason for that is that resources are scarce. Resources include equipment, facility, energy, and staff. And so we want to create opportunities, and as opposed to being stymied by waiting because of difficulties. What we've also found is when we've been in a community for at least 6 months, we do find that by showing the community through partnership that new programs can be created and success achieved, that those who had initial doubts or had initial reluctance then become more interested and more accommodating to our overtures to work together to create new opportunities to connect the community to leisure.
Excellent.
Thanks, Peter.
Excellent. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. They've got some interest, you'll see in the questions, Jeff, you've got some interest in the Take Charge program. I'll let you respond to that in the questions box there.
Yeah, let's move on. Yeah, so look, really briefly, the Take Charge program is looked as a program for national rollout. Our approach always is to take a phased approach, and we will implement it in that way. And the opportunity for how it's funded, one of my roles is to look at the sustainability and financial viability of the program, and there are many different approaches that we will be able to implement to create Take Charge as a funded, locally applied program.
Great stuff. Thanks, Jeff, and thank you, David. We're going to move on here, and let me just get the next slide ready because we're going to go to Moss Vale next, and I'll unmute Lois Hewitt. There, Lois, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can, Peter. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, Lois, I'm going to be the timekeeper here. You've got 10 minutes max, I would say, if you could, and I'll leave you to take it away.
Thank you. Yes, good morning or good evening, depending on where you are. My name is Lois Hewitt, and I'm the Access and Inclusion Coordinator for the Moss Vale Aquatic Centre. Now, we are in a regional New South Wales, and we are about 1.5 hours or 110 kilometres southwest of Sydney. The area, the Southern Highlands, boast a population of 49,000, and the most common occupations are currently professionals, followed by trades, and there's a larger than average population of over 60s. Now, it's interesting here because I am typical. The area was originally dairy farms and things like that, but its proximity to Sydney means that a lot of professionals have moved here, and including a lot of people that want to retire. So we have a very diverse population now. It's not just country, traditionally dairy farmers, things like that. So it brings different challenges for the Moss Vale Aquatic Centre in finding out what the needs of that diverse community is. I'm typical really. I've spent a lot of time in the corporate world, and I wanted a quieter life as I matured. But I also wanted connection, and so it's been fantastic to move to the Southern Highlands. And in fact, the Aquatic Centre was one of the most important things that I needed in my living here. So the community has about, in line with other statistics on disability in the community, between 8,000 and 10,000 people. And with 1,250 people of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, and a higher prevalence of ancestry linked to the United Kingdom. Interestingly enough, the annual patronage of Moss Vale Community Aquatic Centre is 175,000. So you can see that it is really an absolutely vital and valuable leisure centre for this community, particularly as it's quite cold here. So an outdoor facility would not serve the community. Thank you, Peter. Okay, so when I came on board a little while ago, some 9 months ago now, I had actually taken a role as a swim coordinator, and I was in the pool. And I had a number of young people with a disability in my class, not a great deal, but so I developed quickly an interest in their well-being in the water. So I've really enjoyed this role. So when we went out, we decided that it was very important to go out, of course, and find out what the community needed, as Jeff alluded to earlier, not just what do we want to do, what does the community need? So I went out with a pencil and paper and made appointments, and really enjoyed connecting with the leaders of various service providers in the community. And we have the DSA office just across the road from our centre, and that was fabulous to talk to them. We also talked to a group called Interchange, and they also bring people with a disability to the pool to exercise on a daily and weekly basis. So I worked with Jeff and the centre manager to establish what the needs of the community. It was very important to speak to the council, as that we partner very strongly with the council in the running of the pool. Also in the community, with the introduction of the NDIS, the National Disability Insurance Scheme, that was just rolling out in our area, it was very important to understand how people with a disability would use the NDIS to support their leisure and their community needs in this way. And we discovered that there were two main categories that they would use, possibly, and they were increased social and community participation and improved health and well-being. So we saw that there were two main areas where they could access financial support and come and use our facilities. I went out and I interviewed not only service providers, but I interviewed lots of patrons that currently use the pool, as you can see by the photo in that slide. How I decided to do some interviews and write some articles for the local paper, because I wanted to know how their use of our facilities and our pool were increased their well-being. So I did 3 articles and they were published, and in doing so I wanted to show other members of our community how the pool would benefit them, because it's not just the pool. We have a gymnasium, and so there was lots of things that they could use to increase their health and well-being. Also, as it's been pointed out, social connection was a really big thing. The other thing that I wanted to say here is that we have a larger than normal over 60s population. So in the pool at the moment we run 3 or 4 aquatic programs for elderly people, and those classes are actually full. And so, you know, in that way it's diversity and inclusion. We wanted to include them and give them opportunities for their health and well-being. So in looking for, we decided to run two major events in the 6 months, as Jeff spoke about. We decided that the Special Olympics was a really good way to partner, and really good organisation to partner with. And Special Olympics was started in America, and we have a very viable Special Olympics organisation within Australia. And so we got in touch with them and decided that we would run a Special Olympics Come and Try Day. It was a huge success. I went out and I spoke to everybody about coming along and have a try day. We started small. We didn't want to put on a great big event straight away. So we said it was completely free. The participants and their carers could come along and just enjoy themselves for the day. So we had we linked up with a number of Special Olympics clubs in the area, and advertised to them. They all came along. We ended up with 26 participants, because remember it's a smaller area. It's not an area that has the same, that offers the same facilities as a big city like Sydney. And so that was a lot of participants for a small area like us. But what I really enjoyed about that day was most of those participants were in 3 or 4 events. And look, it was such a success. The joy and just the joy of them being there and participating was awesome to see, and it was a huge success. So much so that we've planned a really big event next year to follow on with that. And as a result, also some of those Special Olympics athletes also have joined our squads and are doing extra work at the pool. And and some of them are in our swim school as well. So it's a really all-inclusive thing. Okay, Rainbow Club. I'm just watching the time there, so look, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but the Rainbow Club is also a special organisation that is coming into the pool to run one-on-one swimming programs, and at the centre, and that starts on the 22nd of October, and we're really excited about that. And I will actually be in the water to help with the services provided. I mentioned swim squads. We will be getting that underway. Some of them have started for people with a disability. They are mainstream. Some of the swimmers are in with mainstream squads, and we hope that that grows as a result of the Rainbow Club. Schools program is another initiative that we're working on, and we've been around to schools, and we're linking them with the aquatic centre to encourage them to come to the centre because there is funding available for them to participate in programs at the Moss Vale Aquatic Centre. So that's what we're doing, and we're really proud that we're able to offer these things from a regional area, and because it's very important to be seen and to be there for all the people in a regional area, so they don't have to travel long distances to get their needs met in all these areas. So
thanks, Lois. Great stuff indeed. We had a couple of back-end questions that I think Jeff has already dealt with in the back end. So many thanks for that, Lois, and perfect timing too. Perfect timing.
Okay, thanks, Peter.
So what I might do now is go to a bit of a summary, and I'll unmute Jeff here. Jeff, are you going to take us through the summary?
Certainly will, and thanks for that, Peter. So what I wanted to do today was to showcase the approach that Belgravia Leisure has used, and we're pleased with the success that we've achieved so far and looking forward to creating new opportunities in the coming months and years, because this approach has been embedded and is now part of core business. One of the things that has been really interesting in this role is working in the commercial environment. It's really important that I'm in a position to demonstrate to the company that socially responsible approaches to engaging all within the community that we work is good business. And we've been able to do that. The approach we've taken is summarised here. The 7 pillars of inclusion and the principles of university design are an excellent framework upon which to base our approach. The leadership has bought into this notion that connecting the community to leisure means connecting all in the community to leisure, and each of our venues, their managers and their staff and inclusion coordinators in the venues that we've implemented this have been doing an outstanding job, for which I'm really thankful. The community development approach is just good common sense. You're better off to find out what the community needs, because you're better and more likely to identify a sustainable program based on market need. The community development approach in some ways is just the development from a company's perspective of market analysis. Partnership is incredibly important because we cannot do everything. We need to collaborate and cooperate with others because they bring with them skills, networks, and knowledge that we don't have access to. And why would we then deny people in the community the benefit of new opportunities simply by thinking or trying to do things all on our own? It's not the approach we take. Evidence is really important. To confirm what we're doing is a good use of available resources, is meeting the community need. It assists us to reaffirm to staff that the work that they're doing is beneficial. It allows us then to refine programs and also then to replicate them with confidence to other centres, because we're in a position to say this works. And that is a really important phrase for a venue manager and their staff to hear in relation to the risk of developing a new program or a new approach. So I think that sort of summarises everything that the highlights I wanted to point out. Thanks, Peter.
Fabulous. Thanks, Jeff. I do want to be fair and without notice, I'll just unmute Dave and Lois just to see if they want to make any closing comments, I guess. Dave, maybe have you got anything at all you want to add to that?
Nothing to add, but I just think it's a very important approach that Belgravia Leisure is taking, and I can definitely say that the layered and stepped approach, I guess, where I've always got someone to be able to assist me in my role is fantastic, and there's definitely some really good things coming in the future and for next year, and I really want to thank Jeff for kind of being at the head of all of this and really being the key motivator and driver. So thank you.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you for that. Thanks very much. And Lois, any final comments?
I just want to say how much I've enjoyed this work, and particularly not working alone, working with my manager, James Bourbon, and he's had some wonderful ideas. It's been a synergistic approach, and something that is really beneficial for the community, and I've just loved Belgravia's approach.
Great, and thank you. Thanks very much, Lois, for that. And that's we'll start to draw it to a close there. So thank you very much. We really appreciate your time. We're only about 2 or 3 minutes over time, which is pretty good. So it just remains for me, on behalf of the Inclusion Club and the International Federation of Adapted Physical Activity, who are primarily a research organisation. You can find them online, and the Inclusion Club's around about practical implementation. So it's a really good marriage, if you like, in that sense. And most of all, though, thanks to Belgravia Leisure, thanks to Jeff, Lois, and David for their work and presentation today. We are recording this, so the recording will be up on the Inclusion Club with the PowerPoint and anything, and the question and answers that we didn't get to. In a week or so's time, when we manage to edit this up, we'll let everybody know when that's available. So thank you again, everybody, for your time this morning. We really appreciate it. And wherever you are, I wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, or even a good evening. Thank you.